Hi, I'm Ivy Hall, and I'm your featured woman for the June 2024 issue of the Bold Maven magazine.
Can you share a little about what you do?
Yes, so I love what I do. I'll just start off by saying that. But I am a business development executive, and currently my role is to manage a commercial real estate loan fund. The loan fund is specifically for small business owners. So essentially, what we're looking to do is help small business owners purchase commercial real estate so that they can, one, get out of expensive leases, because if you're in commercial real estate, you know that the leases are extremely expensive. But number two, they also have the opportunity to have ownership in the communities that they serve. And so, of course, we know that small businesses are the backbone for our country as well as our economy. And so, being able to provide them with access to capital is a very critical role in terms of economic development for the counties, for the communities, the cities, but then also for that small business owner, because owning that property just pays off in the long run in terms of them again owning the property, but then also being able to save money, as well as once they get done with their business, they can keep the property and now become a landlord and rent it out to other people, or they can sell the property. So when they get ready to retire, they have another vehicle that they can use to fund their retirement.
What schools did you attend?
So I've only really attended two schools. I went to Mississippi Valley State University. That's where I received my bachelor's in journalism. I'm a Mississippi girl, born and raised in Greenville, Mississippi. Come from a very close-knit, tight family. Several people in my family also went to Mississippi Valley State. The other half of my family went to Jackson State, the I love. So it's a little bit of family rivalry there. But being from Mississippi, going to an HBCU was very much a natural progression in terms of getting your degree. And so again, both sides of my family went to one or the other. I went to Mississippi Valley State, and then that was quite some time ago. And currently, I'm enrolled at Georgia Tech, and I'm pursuing my executive MBA. And the program that I'm in is the Management of Technology program.
How did you accidentally fall into finances?
Well, a very long story, but I'll try not to make it too long. So I majored in journalism. I was a journalist for about a year and a half. And shortly after that, again, I realized that I needed to make a little bit more money. And so some of my family at that time had moved to North Mississippi, which is like South Haven, but very close to Memphis, Tennessee. And my brother, who actually did major in business, at the time he was working for another bank, and he just gave me a call. He said, "Hey, I think you should apply." He literally just told me, "Hey, it's another girl there. If she can do it, you can do it." And that's how I fell into banking. But the very unique thing is that I started off in the career just wanting to earn more money. Of course, getting out of college, that's why you go to college, is to make money. And what happened was I just had a natural instinct for banking and finance. So within about 12, well, maybe about 18 months, but definitely less than 2 years, I had become a branch manager. So I came in as just a desk side representative, opening accounts, but I was very successful in sales and leadership and customer service, and all of those skills put me in a position within less than 2 years, I was a branch manager.
What has your experience been as a black woman in your industry?
Ooh, well, not only being a black woman, but I always tell people I am a noticeably black woman. I'm brown skinned. There's no ambiguity about who I am when you look at me. And so being in corporate America has definitely been a very unique place to navigate in. I learned a lot about myself, first and foremost. And one thing about corporate America, it can truly bring the best out of you if you allow it to. And so corporate America has shaped me in ways, not only just professionally in terms of a career, but then also learning how to be more tactful in your messaging. You can be right all day and twice on Sundays, as they say where I'm from. However, if you don't know how to effectively communicate that, your message will not go across, and whatever your end result that you desire, you likely won't see it, or there will be more of a delay. And so, learning how to, number one, get people on my side if I have an opinion, really learning how to play professional chess and not checkers, if you will. That's what corporate America has taught me. Don't get me wrong. Again, being a black woman, you have to, it's really all about communication. You don't want to come off too passionate. When they call you passionate, they're calling you angry. So just know if they call you passionate, dial it back a little bit, take a couple of deep breaths, learn when to send an email, maybe when to just type an email out and put it in the parking lot. Those are some of the things that I had to learn, especially as I wanted to grow. You can be capable, you can be confident, but you still have to have people who are up the hierarchy who are on your side. And so learning how to navigate that space has been very critical to my professional development as well as my advancement. Just another thing is that learning how to read the room. Corporate America definitely taught me how to read the room. And again, I'm from an HBCU where we had some diversity on campus, but it was a primarily black culture. And so learning how to cross those skills over, and whether you want to call it code switching, being your highest self, whichever version of it you want to use, you do have to learn how to balance those things out as you want to climb the corporate ladder. And the reason why that's very important is because we need people that look like me and probably you on every ladder of the rung. So what does that mean? I can't go into a boardroom and just be just who I am, the young lady who grew up in Greenville, Mississippi. I have to learn which parts of myself won't necessarily be silenced, but they're just not appropriate to bring into this meeting. And don't get me wrong, when the girl from Mississippi comes out to play, she owns the room too. But it's about learning how to balance those things and not feeling like you're not being yourself, because all of these versions are in you. It's just learning when to apply what version at what time to get the best results.
What do you consider to be some of your biggest accomplishments so far?
Ooh, big accomplishments. I have several. But I'll say, like, to me, honestly, my biggest accomplishment is just being a free thinker and loving myself and being very comfortable in my skin. As a woman, growing up, sometimes you hear things like you're to be seen and not heard, or you're raised to think that you have to check all of these boxes off the list to be a woman and to be a lady. And what I've learned is that some things are appropriate and then some things aren't appropriate for where I am. So, learning what I needed to learn to become this version of myself, but then also unlearning and unpacking the things that I no longer needed or those things that no longer serve me. Last year, I had the opportunity to be a part of the Watson Institute. They had a fellowship here in Atlanta. It was their inaugural fellowship. It was sponsored by Truist Bank, and I had the opportunity to not only be accepted into the cohort, but also to do the pitch competition. And out of about 28 people, I was seven in the pitch competition. And it was my first time doing a pitch, first time doing some of these ideas that I have around financial literacy. So that's a huge accomplishment. One of my biggest accomplishments, I will say though, is just being a mom, a young lady, being comfortable in my skin. I have two children, and I went through a divorce, never saw myself on this journey of checking all the boxes off the list, getting married, having kids, doing all of those things. I never thought that I would actually be a divorced mom of two, but I can say just being able to do it and being proud of who I am and being proud of the mother that I am, as well as the corporate woman that I am, and all of these different pieces of me, and not succumbing to depression or darkness or feeling unworthy. Because when you do go through something like divorce, it can have the tendency to cause you to feel shame or guilt. So I will say that, like, pushing past that has definitely been one of my biggest accomplishments, because as a woman, when you get married and you're married to a dentist or a doctor or an athlete or somebody of affluence, you put a piece of your pride or your self confidence and self esteem in that particular situation. So, being able to place my confidence and my self esteem back where it always should be, which is within myself, and just valuing the things that I have to offer from the inside, that's been one of my biggest accomplishments for sure.
What memories keep you motivated?
Being a parent, you want the best for your child. You don't want them to experience any bumps or bruises. But I honestly feel like one of the biggest charges that we have in parenthood is really teaching your child. It's not that you won't experience some of these things, it's about teaching them that number one, you will experience it, but it's about pulling out that resiliency to know that you can overcome anything. So it's not that you won't be faced with a difficult situation, that is a part of life, but being able to pass on the resiliency and even the attitude and the mindset, just cultivating the mindset that you can overcome anything. That's one of the biggest things and the biggest gems that I want to leave my children, my daughter, my son, because again, as they say, life will life, and that's totally fine. Oh, memories that keep me motivated. That's a great question. I have great memories. One of them is just that, for me, memories of my parents, my grandparents. Again, we're from Mississippi, and my grandparents and their parents, they were actually sharecroppers. So they were sharecroppers. They earned enough money to purchase a farm, and this was a long time ago. But they purchased the farm, and they were actually run out of their farm. They were told that, hey, you have to leave. And XYZ and my family, they packed up from Arkansas. They moved to Mississippi, and they just started their next chapter. And so those are one of the memories I hold dear, because oftentimes that's how life is. You accomplish something, you think you hit it, and then you may get thrown a curveball, or you may have to pivot and adjust. But just knowing that within my family history, that even when we pivoted, we did not give up. That's one of my most cherished, legacies. My mom and my dad will both tell you that they even had to chop cotton, so it's not that far removed from me if you understand what living life is like in Mississippi and in the South, and Jim Crow, some of the discriminatory things that were put in place. So those things they're not far from my generation. Literally, it was just my parents that were just doing some of those things. But yet, and still, my mom has her doctorate degree. My father graduated with his bachelor's degree. My grandmother even has a master's degree. So, knowing that even though they were exposed to some of those working conditions, and again, living within the 40s and 50s and 60s during some very tumultuous times, but they still pressed on and they were able to accomplish things, degrees, purchasing homes, starting families, getting married. I feel like that's just something that I carry within my blood. And it's also something that I'm able to talk to my children about. I do believe that all things will always work together. And it's really about cultivating a mindset. And I mean, I feel like that's very important for women as well, is because everyone faces different things. But as a woman, we're more emotional and we're more receptive to some of those blows. So, really cultivating that mindset of knowing that things will always work out. How can I take a deep breath? How can I be resilient yet calm? But allowing that inner strength, not the outer strength, but just that inner strength to become present. And so that's one of the things I feel like, not only for children, but then also as a woman, really, again, cultivating the mindset of knowing that all things will work out. And not only that, one thing I always tell myself is that things will even work out better for me. And so sometimes when you go through trauma and drama of life, your brain will automatically start thinking of the worst case scenario because it's trying to protect you. But sometimes you have to step out of that because that's more of a fear based consciousness. And so, really, how can I cultivate a mindset of number one, expecting the best to always happen to me? But number two, even when things get a little bit rocky, just knowing that things will still work out.
Final question. Do you have any current or future endeavors that you can share with our audience?
Well, sure, I have a couple. So, one of my current endeavors is because I've been in the financial space for so long, one of my biggest passions is addressing the wealth gap that's within our nation. So, that's some of the work that I'm actively doing within the company that I work for and even some of the other organizations that I support. It may not be cured, but coming up with ways to address it so that the income gap as well as the wealth gap within our nation, that we begin to balance out the scales. That's one of the most important things and the most important journey in my work presently. The other thing is that in December of this year, I'll be graduating with my executive MBA from Georgia Tech. Again, management of technology. So I'm really excited about being a woman in tech and being a woman in that startup venture space. I'm super excited. And then one of my most current and even more exciting announcements is that you all will be seeing a little bit more of me. I will be presenting the Maven Money Gems here on the channel. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me, Ivy B. So get used to this face. To continue this conversation, you can read my story on theboldmaven.com. Make sure you subscribe to the Bold Maven newsletter to gain access to the digital magazine.